downstairs. 15 seconds to click the final switches and push the final buttons, and we'll get underway. All right, we will call the Town Board Work Session September 11th, 2019 to order. And I think I'd like to just start off tonight with just a moment of silence in recognition of 9/11 18 years ago. This country was changed very significantly, and let us not forget that day. Okay, thank you. And thank you to all of those families. Our heart goes out for everyone that paid that ultimate price that day. We'll let the minutes reflect that all of the board members are present, as well as staff. We do have a distinguished member in the audience that we'll hear from in a moment. We do have the minutes of August 28th, 2019 before us, and would entertain a motion of approval of those minutes.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Lisa, thank you as always. We will move on to our monthly reports. We have most everyone in. We're missing a couple of finance personnel and building zoning, and I would anticipate those being in by the end of this week. We have no public hearings this evening. We have no guests. Let's start right in with action items, and the first action item is a conditional use permit for Perry's Pizza at 1837 Penfield Road. We had that hearing last week, and Jim, I would just ask, is there anything new, different, or additional that's come in since the public hearing?
I'll just kind of go through some of the issues that
Invite you right to the
yeah,
table
come on
if you
up.
would. Thank you.
Just want to go
Absolutely.
through some of the highlights. As you know, we did have our meeting last week. Some of the highlights of that meeting were the signage, the exterior remodeling of the window treatments that you looked for white versus the darker trim. The fact that he's going to have 20 to 28 employees with probably 6 or so on site at any given time, about right. He's going to be open up from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., which is well within our time frames for operational hours in Four Corners. Some of the things that you should be aware of that we're talking about right now is we're trying to consolidate the dumpster issue down there in the Four Corners in our parking area, and he's been gracious enough to say he would work with others that have dumpsters down there and help share the cost of the ones that are there, so we can eliminate another dumpster in that area. The other issue that he brought to mind, which was very important, is the fact that you will need a grease recycling bin, as all restaurants do. My initial thought was to put that with the dumpsters. It's probably not a good idea for 2 reasons. Number one, it'll probably get bumped around with somebody hitting a dumpster, and it'll be all over our new parking lot. Secondly, you know, he mentioned the fact that you got kids carrying grease out to the recycling thing, and you don't want it all over the new parking lot. So one of the things that I would think about is possibly letting the fire marshal and I look at a site that's reasonable for him in close proximity to the building, so they're not all over the parking lot, spilling that stuff all over your place.
When we repaved and restriped and changed the configuration and the layout of the parking lot, we actually made accommodations with a hashed out striped area along that concrete divider wall for a grease dumpster to be specifically
Very
put,
good.
so that grease wasn't getting tracked all the way across the parking lot, potentially dumper spills, especially come wintertime. If people didn't want to make the walk all the way across, they weren't just dumping it down one of the catch basins. That should be in place and striped out.
If I recall, it's pretty much in the same place where we just had it located.
Yep. Yeah, if you come in on that easterly side of the building, there's a hashed out area to kind of direct traffic to the west, more or less, to avoid the parking spots, and we made it not only a triangle but kind of a little wider for that exact reason.
Are you aware of that spot,
Yes,
that location?
absolutely. And I agree with that determination.
I think you memorized the parking lot.
Yeah. Getting used to it.
All right, and then really the only last item of discussion for you is the fact that he is requesting 3 signs on the property. He's actually doing what you approved for Guidas, and I did take pictures of the old Guidas. He had one in the front, he had one in the back,
Right.
and he had one on the side of the building that was facing, on the west side of the building
Right.
as you're coming north. So, just to give you what the idea of what he's doing is, he's got the 3 signs. He's looking for a 60 square foot sign on the front of the building. He's looking for a 22 square foot sign on the side of the building. And he is looking for a 11 square foot sign on the back of the building, identifying the back entrance. I also printed up a quick picture for you of the back of the State Farm building. There's also a sign on the back of that, which is kind
Right.
of
So
commensurate
parking
with the
is-
size of
yeah.
the sign that you have here. So
Sure.
I think you're being consistent with what you did with Guidas.
And so that's 93 square feet as compared to what it...
It's almost
would have.
94, yeah, it's 94 square feet plus or minus,
Okay.
when you add all the little decimals in. The building itself was entitled to 60 square feet. It's a 30-foot wide building, I believe. You multiply that by 2, you get 60, but I think you gave the waiver to Guidas early on because there was no freestanding signage out there to identify the business. People were coming up to it and going by it because there was nothing there, so you gave them the sign
In
on the
between
sign
a
of the
couple of
building.
buildings. It's-
And truly, the main entrance of the building is the back, because that's
Yeah.
where everybody comes to
Right.
buy, so it made good
That's fair.
sense to do that.
So can we talk about the signs, what appear to be here on the window, I'm assuming?
Yes.
On the inside, outside?
Typically, we place those on the inside or the outside, depending on if each jurisdiction is a little different with, if it's on the outside, it counts as square footage for the signage.
That's
Right.
correct.
If it goes on the inside, it's
Right.
Does not.
It's not.
That's the issue,
Um,
right?
This is also, and I think I mentioned that before, the appearance here would almost look like an etched glass. So it's not heavy with colors or anything like that.
Got it. So it'd
Just
be
a-
more resembling etched rather than
Yes.
really being in your face.
For sure.
I mean, here, it's kind of in your face.
It is in your face, yeah, absolutely, and I agree.
And it will be on the inside.
Yes.
Okay.
It will be on-
That was the one question I had as I was preparing a resolution.
I have no further concerns. I think it's a great addition to the Four Corners, and I think that we've thoroughly looked at all the issues that might arise at this point, and
Okay.
it appears to be pretty streamlined from what we had with Guidas.
Okay.
Is that the motion?
I will make a motion
Okay, now second.
to approve the request, including, I guess on our own motion, granting a variance for the sign,
The waiver,
waiver for the sign square footage.
which is consistent with the past business that was there.
Did you get that, Kaz?
Yes, I did.
And a mention of the grease dumpster as well.
Right.
Yeah, if you can maybe square up where that's gonna be. It sounds like we've got some sort of resolution, but just make sure that Mr. Perry's okay with that on site before we include the resolution.
Yep.
Yeah, there was some coordination that we had to work out with Baker Commodities to be able to get access to it to pick up.
Okay, got it, thank you. All right, there's a motion on the table for approval, it's been seconded. Further discussion? I would ask, board, is there anything that you believe should be added to the record that hasn't already been, either at the public hearing or here tonight? It should be part of the record. Okay, seeing none. Those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution will be on the 18th agenda
That's right.
for approval of the operation. Congratulations, welcome to Penfield. and
Thank you very much.
Look forward to you opening up here sometime in October.
Thank you. I'm looking forward
Let us
to it
know
as well.
when the grand opening's going to be.
Yes,
We have to-
definitely.
With big scissors.
Yes.
You'll need it for
I
that
like
big
that.
slice. Big appetite.
Yeah,
Eat some
right.
big
The big rollers.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
You can't eat the
A
big
big-
slice. I don't care what you
No, I know, it's a big,
We could take the thing from the Daniel Penfield statue and make it into a roller.
there you go.
Okay, all right.
On that note,
On that note, we will continue on. Thank you very much and
Thank you.
appreciate it.
I wanted to touch base on just a couple of things.
Okay.
Okay.
Just as far as the signage goes, I know we had some concerns. Are you guys okay with the font style chosen? I know
I liked it.
we had talked about it trying to be historic, because I'm extremely flexible when it comes to, if there's any other ideas you may
I
have.
like
I've
the
spent a lot of time trying to research vintage signs. After our meeting, obviously, I went even further with it. I met with Sherwin-Williams, and they actually provided me with a brochure of vintage paints that they have, and stuff like that, because obviously when we do the windows, we're looking at trim as well.
Right, right.
So I don't know if there's a point of contact or working
Yeah,
directly
you
with
can
Jim.
share with us.
Jim is,
I'll get everything back to the board once you've decided what you're
If
thinking
there's
about.
anything.
Yeah, I
that
like
we're
the
looking for.
revised font. I think also it went well with the gooseneck.
Yes.
Seems to
Yeah.
blend.
They will all be replaced, I think.
The goosenecks?
Yes, yeah.
Probably
And we're
older
gonna
than
add
what
one,
we need to be.
I think one,
Are they rusty?
yeah.
It's been a while.
The rusty green, red, green, red.
They don't align up properly
They don't.
with these.
No,
with the sign.
I'm gonna try to attempt to even them out and, you know, get
Very
better.
good.
But we're definitely updating them with new equipment. We're not gonna just paint anything like that.
That's good.
Additionally, the decision would be for white.
We
Fine.
like those
I'm okay with
windows,
that.
right?
Yeah. So Mr. Glass actually got back to me today with both options, and I just wanted, before I
Yeah,
reach
he's
back out to him, I wanted.
Absolutely.
Now downstairs, the glass blocks that are on the lower level, those are gonna be like storefront windows. So those will match the storefront at the bottom, if that's okay. And then upstairs would be all,
Yeah.
Would be,
Yeah.
yeah, what we saw,
Right.
what we saw here.
Yep.
That's gonna
Yeah.
look great.
perfect. So,
They stand out nicely.
yeah, no, it's nice.
And then
But-
the.
and that's not the font.
Right.
It's-
I was gonna-
The white windows is not the right font,
this
and the
is-
black windows is.
Right.
This is the
Got
font.
it. Yep.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. So
And we do
just,
encourage as much landscaping as
yes.
You're able.
as you're able.
You pulled out a lot of the old lands.
Yeah, that was one of the first things I
Very sparse
did.
in
Well,
the
it was a lot of
photo.
weeds. And
Yeah.
I called a friend of mine who does some work for me, and I said, you gotta get over it. He goes, I'm not gonna have time. I said, I'm going in front of that board next week, and I don't want anybody to say anything about these weeds. I said, I don't mind, have the equipment as well, but I didn't really want to load it up at the time if he was out in Penfield. So they took care of it right away. But yes, we do plan on getting right in there.
It'll draw people's attention to it if
Yeah.
it's done nicely.
Yeah.
I think so.
And
as
make a
well.
note for next July, it's July.
Oh, yeah.
The parade goes right by,
Oh,
right, you're about the halfway point
okay.
of the
When you think about
Independence
flags
Day
and the
parade.
Very good.
Special.
and also one of the more congested areas
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
parade is
Yeah.
right in that
Crowd
Four
there.
Corners area, so
Yeah.
take advantage of that,
Oh,
too.
for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
We've had some programs in the past at our Dewey Stone store. It's right at the corner of the corridor where when the Barnard
Yeah.
Carnival and
Yeah.
parade starts. So one year
They'll
we
be
had
there.
Mario and Luigi out there.
Yeah,
Mario and
really?
Luigi waving to people, and they had
Yeah.
the pizza paddles with the logo on it, possibly doing a little
Yeah.
air guitar. But
good.
Very
Sounds
nice.
good.
Good luck.
Thank
Anything
you.
else, Mark?
No, I think
Mike.
that's about it. I
Mike,
did.
sorry.
No, it's okay.
I apologize.
Yep.
Yep.
You had referenced menu,
I did.
and I know that's been a huge, in my mind, it's been a concern, because obviously, as my focus to streamline, I think it impacts the consistency of each location moving forward. With our space restraints there, it's difficult to put the extra equipment. And Mark Guida, he did a good job with it. He had a decent-sized menu with a lot of different options, but
I defer
everything
to
was
you,
just so crammed in there.
as
Yeah,
well.
I
and
just
I
wanted
think
to,
one of the things from my perspective, and I think from the board's perspective, is we're not going to tell you how to run your business.
Right.
You decide what sells and what doesn't
For
sell
sure.
and what you're capable of providing as far as a quality product.
Yep.
So I don't think anybody on this board has any desire to say, you have to have, subs, you have to have this. That's a business decision that
Absolutely.
you can make in
Right.
order to, be profitable and successful.
For sure.
And so if you have a format that works for you in your other stores, then that's fine too.
Okay.
So,
Very well.
don't,
Andy's a wingman.
yeah, as long as it is chicken wings.
22 varieties of wing sauce. So I get real strategic as we cut menu items, we actually add certain things like wing sauces. You know, it's things that are a little more simpler when you start trying to keep a consistent
Sounds fun.
Good
approach.
point.
You know your business and what sells and what doesn't sell, and what you can do and what you can't do.
We recently did a streamlined menu
Look at that.
marketing piece. Now,
Yeah.
this location does have a full menu,
Yeah.
but we streamlined the marketing, obviously, to really just talk about pizza, pizza combos, wings,
Good.
really
Right.
simple. As opposed to, and that's the back end, my daughter's debut. She did good.
Mike, Eric wanted me to let you know, Eric's the DPW director, by the way. He wanted me to let you know that as they were doing the work for the new parking lot, they had to do a lot of utility relocations. So in your case, they installed all new natural gas, electric service, cable, and telephone service. So that's all new.
Okay,
That was all coordinated as part of the project for that building. So
very good. That's good.
Well, with a little arm twisting with our friends for the
a little for
utilities.
some and a lot for others.
No, I really appreciate the parking lot and the work that was done, and you could tell that it's top notch. It's in great condition, and I like the idea that you guys have done, obviously before me, working together with everybody, because, you know, that, the concern obviously is there. If everybody has their own plow guy, now what happens? Who's
Right.
putting the snow where, who's doing what?
Oh, that
So,
sounds familiar.
You
We
know,
wanted
sure.
to avoid all that. So.
Yeah,
30
no.
years.
So thank you.
Do you give new businesses like the Penfield Business Chamber information and things like that?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And you'll
I took
be,
the Penfield.
yep,
I
I've
have.
already hooked them up,
I
and
figured you did. I
you'll be
just-
doing
was just thinking
you'll be
about
doing
it.
some work with them on the grand opening and
Very
everything.
good.
Yep, sounds good.
Okay,
All right.
excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks again, Mike.
Thank you,
We
folks.
appreciate it.
Have a
And
wonderful
again,
day.
welcome to Penfield.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Look forward to being here. So,
Okay,
thank you.
very good. Excellent. All right, we will move on our action items. We have discussion on low-pressure sanitary sewer systems and some new regulations. Mark sent some information out and
Yes.
give him an opportunity to talk about it. Not quite as sexy as pizza,
No, it's not
but we'll chat about, a
Way to
little
go,
bit about
It's the
sewer.
result of pizza.
Thanks,
We
Mike.
let the
I
pizza
appreciate you
conversation
guys.
happen
Thank you
first.
so much.
Absolutely, thank you. All right, Mr. Valentine, I teed it up, I can't take it any further than
Go any
that.
further than that?
You don't want to.
Just as of recently, and obviously this board is aware of the low-pressure sewers, we've talked about it recently for our design criteria, which we recently adopted. Well, subsequent to that, we got these two documents. One is information from the Health Department dated August 20th, and the other is a letter or memo from the DEC. They are basically requiring or mandating changes that this group did not adopt in our design criteria. So obviously that's a big change or potential change for us, and want to bring it back to the board. Basically, the DEC is requiring that we own and maintain the low-pressure sewer pumps that would go into each house. Our design criteria said we'll take the main, similar to any other development gravity sewer. The pump is on private property, it's owned and maintained by the individual homeowner. They're trying to standardize that, and they're saying any municipality, not just the town of Penfield, any municipality needs to own and maintain these low-pressure sewer pumps. You know, they go down through, there needs to be 24-hour repair and replacement of pumps. We should own and maintain it, as well as they need to be installed on property or have the ability to title or access to it. I'm going through the DEC memo. It goes on to talk about standardizing sizes, individual pumps. The rest of the stuff we had in our criteria. We talk about the audible alarms, we talk about the standard sizes, we talk about all the other piece to it, but the big thing is number 2 that says we need to own and maintain it, and that was not part of what our standards are currently. Would be a big change for us, and you know, thank you to Eric for coming tonight. Obviously, that falls under his department, or would fall under his department for future maintenance and issues and concerns with that, so he, I'm sure, will chime in with some information on that. And then, so this, and I wasn't even aware that this was out there from the DEC, and then obviously then now our health department with the second letter, item number 8 says, you know, most notable of our requirements, now the health department is jumping on the bandwagon saying, we're agreeing with the DEC and please reference the DEC letter and memo to follow. So Obviously, that could potentially be an impact to our sewer department for them for maintenance of it. They have some recommendations on number of units and having replacement pumps available. There are groups out there. Seaward Equipment Company does run a service that they can and will do the 24-hour operation if we want to hire them to do that. They have pumps and other things available. We have standardized around the E1 pump, so it's pretty much a plug-and-play system. You pull one pump out, you put another pump back in. So there are other opportunities to do that. I know Eric, shared some thoughts, concerns about power outages. Obviously, when the power's not on, gravity works all the time. Pumps don't work when the power's off, so there are some additional issues with that. So I know that's a lot of new information. We can get into more details with that, but obviously this would potentially be a major change to what our design criteria we just adopted
Right
is.
now, how many, properties would fall into this?
Currently, we have the Waybridge subdivision development, which has 12 homes in that, plus one property to the north of that. So there's 13 homes that are tied into that system that exist currently. They are private. They, whether they know it or not, own and maintain their own unit. They were told that when they moved in, but we have another potential project of 72 units that's currently pending before the planning board. It's in their process, and that's why this came up, was through their process. And obviously, there's other developers that are interested in, if that development installs the main down Plank Road, they're interested in that they could tie into that. So currently, it's the 13 existing and then potential new ones. There are sewage ejector pumps all over town that are individually private that just tie into our main system. I don't believe this memo would affect that. People may have a sewer ejector pump in their basement for, a basement bathroom shower that just ejects to the street. That would continue to be what it is. Basically, they're referring to all new subdivisions. If we're owning a low-pressure sewer system with the main down the street, they want us to own the main as well as the pumps that all go with that. So we've got some existing out there. I'll have to follow up and see if we have to retroactively go back and do anything. The one benefit is we do have a special improvement district already in place over Waybridge. So that's for the pond, that's for the open space areas. But if we had to go back and say, okay, we need to do this, we need to own it, obviously we've already got a taxing line in place. We could modify the special improvement district. We would have to obtain easements on people's properties.
We'd have to move some of the pumps for the
They would want them by the road, but I mean, if
specifications
that's a
saying that it's
retroactive.
a maximum 20 foot from driveways.
Obviously, if it's an existing condition, I don't know how you go back and change that,
So-
but we'd have to have rights to get to the pumps and access. Thankfully, they're not in the basements. We said that from the beginning. There are some options that you'd put it in the basement, but, we said, no, it needs to be outside. So at least if it's an outside hatch, you can get to it, pull a truck up or a piece of equipment to it.
Okay, so that answers one of my questions. I guess another question is, just remind me again, the reason that developers or homes would have this system?
We're basically starting to run out of areas that can get accessible to our sewers through gravity alone. So,
It's not affordable for the developers to put them in. Because
well, I mean, your other option is a regional pump station. So a regional pump station, obviously, we don't take a pump station for each subdivision. So we require, if somebody's going to put a pump station in, we want it to pick up everything within that
Pick up
drainage
an
basin.
entire base.
So we only own and maintain so many, so each subdivision wouldn't have one pump station and then, take it on from there. We want to make sure it takes several. Obviously, put in a regional pump station and it's costly. We require a backup generator with that. So this is potentially a cheaper alternative to that, but it's also getting to those areas that you can't get gravity sewer to. You're over a hill from sewers.
Right, and so the process in the past has been, they would do their engineering, they would recognize the fact that they would need to have, was it one or multiple of these kinds of pumps on properties as they're building? And the town would go through planning or wherever, and the town would say, yeah, that's fine, because in the past, it's been privately owned, correct?
Yep, we did it with one neighborhood, Waybridge Court, just north on up on Jackson Road, kind of as a trial neighborhood to see how it worked and if it was something that we wanted to continue to try out and look into for the future.
But again, that was before we knew these.
Oh,
new
yeah, this
regulations.
wasn't a
That's
regulation.
where you can
Yeah,
probably
that-
tell by
that-
my
that was-
line of questioning that that's
Yeah, there
where I'm going.
wasn't a regulation to us at that time.
If all of a sudden, this is a burden on the town, where we have to now staff, maintain, replace, own, have, parts and pieces sitting around and the ability to fix it. My question is, would we also then want to relook at how we allow developers to just come in and say, hey, we're gonna just do this, because now it's become a burden on the town itself, so.
Well, that's the big question
Yeah,
at
so
hand.
And up until the past design criteria update, they weren't included within it.
Right.
And it wasn't allowed. We tried it with the one as kind of a trial run. Things have been going smooth, so we decided, yep, let's try to put it in. And then
So
this
this
popped up
comes
Yeah,
a
so
couple weeks after.
Yeah, and my concern is if we tell the developers, well, the town, hypothetical, if the town recommends you do this kind of a low-pressure sewer system, and they say, okay, that's different than them saying, we're gonna do this, oh, and by the way, after it's done, now the town has to take ownership of it. So I don't know what the action item is necessarily, because it sounds like we have to obviously update the design standards to be compliant with.
I think the bigger issue is, do we want to do it at all?
Right.
I mean, that's,
Well,
that's kind of our question. Right now, our design standards we're either, we're in or we're out. So, yeah, do we not want to do it and say, no, we're taking these off the board and we're not going to allow these any longer until either this is
Okay, so
figured
that goes back
out?
to what I was saying, developers
Or-
don't even have this as an option.
Yes, or yes, we need to comply with the new regulations. We need,
If
so
we
so
allow.
either way, we need to modify our design criteria. Design
Right.
criteria doesn't meet this rule and regulations, so either we say,
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
yep, no, you're right there,
Yeah,
yeah.
my-
Either we
my
say,
concern is
no,
that-
we don't want this, or two, we're gonna comply and figure out how to solve this.
And my concern is, you mentioned that, then we would, say, for instance, with Waybridge, we'd create a special improvement district to comply with these new mandates. So basically, we have folks who've come in, who've built their home, and now we force a special improvement district on them in order
It's
for them
already
to
there.
have.
It's already there.
But it's, but the expense is gonna change, would change, right?
different.
Well, no, it's a private system today, so if something happens with their pipe, with their pumps, it's their responsibility to deal with it today.
So we would obviously have to have a conversation, we'd have to meet with the neighborhood and say, today if your pump dies, it's $3,500, you gotta get the $3,500, you pay ABC company, they'll come in and replace it. Or, under your special improvement district, you pay $200 more, I'm throwing random numbers out, don't quote me on any of these, you pay an extra $200 per year, it's $500 a year, whatever that amount is. The town would then own and maintain it, but, so you're gonna pay at some point.
So if I'm a resident in Waybridge, nothing changes?
Why would you just now?
What changes in my, what am I paying for more now?
They won't let you do it.
You would pay a yearly charge, which would basically cover the cost of the replacement in the future. So currently, you're paying nothing, but at some point down the road, your pump's gonna die, the light comes on.
Because of this mandate?
No, I mean,
That's what I'm
No, just
asking
in the
is-
real world,
Yeah.
in a few years, I would say, it could be 10 years, 20 years.
So
At some point in time, your pump's gonna go. And you're gonna be stuck having to pay $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, depending on which one it is, in one fell swoop. If we create the special improvement district to allow them to pay into that, and it might not be $50 a year, it might be something less, we'll have to figure that out. But at least they're only paying $50 a year, and then when the time hits, we just
Okay.
go in and fix it.
Yeah, but it's.
I'm
So
not
so
being
the-
clear, I'm not
So
being
the
clear.
life expectancy on those pumps on.
Hold on.
I'm sorry.
I'm not being
Thank
clear.
you.
So, okay, let's look into part one, Waybridge before this came down.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, so let's say that's paying zero. After this comes down, is it still paying zero? Am I still paying zero on
No.
Waybridge?
it depends, and that's the
That's
part.
my question on behalf of the residents. is
Well, you're
what-
not paying zero at Waybridge, because
I'm
there is a
saying
special.
hypothetically, I'm looking for, am I making myself?
I'm with
So-
you.
I- I-
so-
I- myself-
So,
I
The
feel
answer
like-
is you'll pay more.
So, hold on. So today, the trunk line sewer, the main sewer, we're taking care of today. Everybody, those 16 lots own their own pump. If their pump fails tomorrow, or next year, or 10 years, the way it is today, they are on the hook for that repair and replacement.
Right.
What we don't know is, with this, are those existing pumps included or excluded? So
We've
we
got to
have
ask
to
some more
find,
questions.
we have to find that out from the DEC and from the health department. If they're excluded,
Then
then
they're
homeowner is
still-
still responsible.
Right.
If they're included, one of the options that we're talking is that because there is a special district now for mowing and some other things, we could extend that special district. The homeowners could pay a lesser fee on an annual basis, $50, and then when their pump died, the town would take care of that, or a contractor for the town would take care of that. So we've got, I think we've got
At no
to
additional
find out
charge.
some
Yeah,
information.
there's still
Yeah,
unknowns
because I
before you
mean,
can-
I just look at it as an unfunded mandate in here.
It totally is an
So-
unfunded
and-
mandate.
You know, what can folks in Weybridge, they can't even rely on what they contracted with to begin with.
Right.
And that's a question I need to find out. This just came out, I said, it was just before our last, the time to get on the work session. I said, let's get on the work session, let's get the conversation started. I expected the board would most likely table it this evening, just, figure out all the facts and data before we go too much further, but, is this retroactive? I don't know. So,
Right.
I mean, if the Weybridge people in this says, no, it's not retroactive, it's from here on forward, great, we'll deal with the here on forward, and, they'll continue on as they are. If they say it's retroactive and the town must take ownership of it and back into it, obviously, that's a bigger conversation with those neighbors. We need easements because we need the right to own and maintain it. We've got to get access to it, so we're taking easements through their front yards, up their driveway, wherever. We've got to come up with what that cost is. It will be a change for them from what today is. The second part is, Paul, as you shared, is, going forward, now that we know this, what is the town's thoughts, plans on additional pumps, additional, development as we move ahead?
So we only found out about it the end of August, and it's as a result of some discussion about a larger project having individual pumps, 72 private system, not a private, but a low pressure system, and 72 lots, 72 pumps.
No way.
We wouldn't have been aware of this. Who knows when we would have been aware of the DEC.
When this
And then
this
one of
letter
the
didn't come
things-
to us, it went to the health department.
Right, I went to the health. And then one of the questions that I have, it's their policy. I mean, so is it a legal thing? Is it something they want to see? I mean, sometimes you see some
Codified
things from the DEC is that we'd like to see this.
This is their preference.
And we
is-
rattle
is
the
this
bushes a little bit, but.
Is this a
is it
law or is
truly-
this their preference?
Yeah. So I think there's some additional information to be had there. But then the bigger issue is 72. Then does that 72 down the road become 100, 150? I mean, the next thing you know, Eric's coming into us at budget time to say, I need 4 extra people because we've got.
And it's
we've
due to
got-
increased development,
Right.
Right.
which has its other
Yeah,
burdens.
so I guess, how would you like to break this out? Do you want to just table it pending all of the information we're waiting to
We have to
find out?
table it.
Well, I agree, but is that what we want to do tonight, or we want to discuss about other?
I think we need to get more information
Okay.
from Mark on whether people are grandfathered in or whether or not it's retroactive. It's a big difference. We don't have
And
that
whether it's a
answer right
policy
now.
or a law.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, if this is just their preference, but it sounds like the health department's now kind of jumping on board saying, yeah, we agree with this, and that's the change to us. All of a sudden, our county health department says, yeah, we agree, follow this policy, and that's when I was like, okay, this is new, we haven't,
Have you talked to your peers at all in other towns?
there's,
It's gonna be confusion.
Webster has hundreds of them.
Yeah.
That are in existence today. They're all private, so it's kind of a mixed bag. Wayne County Water and Sewer Authority has hundreds, if not thousands of them, and they took the approach that they do own them and maintain them.
Ah.
But they're in the business of that. It's the Wayne County Water and Sewer Authority. They repair the pumps themselves, so they pull out your pump, they fix it, change the impellers, put it on the shelf, put it back at Rob's house tomorrow, swap it around. But that's the Wayne County Water and Sewer Authority. That's their business, but they do own and maintain
Shared
them.
services.
So some communities have said they're private and
Yeah.
have stayed private. Others said, yes, we're going to own it and maintain it. And, that's kind of part of their business plan. So it's a little bit of a mixed bag, but to me, this is,
Yeah.
at least a mandate or a.
It'd be interesting to see how this came down, because it certainly looks like the DEC caught themselves in an omission.
Yeah, that's their
prior-
comment as well. We didn't include it in our last
Right.
design criteria,
Although it
but,
was left out, so we're gonna go back.
yeah. Oh, by
to
the way,
1988.
Get away with that?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I would move to table this. There's certainly some unanswered questions regarding existing units as well as pending approval units. I guess there's 3 questions. Existing, already built,
Yep.
in the approval process, and then in the future.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Mark, you're comfortable, you are comfortable with what you need to kind of ferret out?
Yep.
And then, when you're ready, I'll take lead from the 2 of you to put it back on the agenda, whether that's, 2 weeks or 4 weeks, whatever the case is, as you get some information. And it would be, I know, I think we should at least ask the question, is this a policy? Is this a law? And, understand we ferret that out. And, you and I briefly spoke, is that something that, we asked the Rochester home builders maybe to either comment, weigh in, or maybe even take the lead on.
Yep. Yeah, obviously this will have an impact to home builders across the county if this
Absolutely.
is a new stance that the county health department's taken. We're not the only community that's going to be impacted by it, and others will have to wrestle with it as well.
Okay, so it's been moved, seconded to table. Seeing no further discussion, those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. This brings us down to informational items, and green light underground installation, Cranberry Cove. Says LaFountain and Valentine, but it's really more Mr. Valentine who has been bird dogging this. I just happened to be at a meeting to discuss, so I'm going to let Mark kind of give an update. And if you recall, the action item was for us to bring that back to kind of report out how that went.
Oh, yeah, this was a little bit different of a rollout for us. They kind of did some of their, I'll say, field editing, but went out and staked out utilities. We had a little bit of concern, wanted to kind of do this as a pilot program, see how it went with the directional drill, the setup of green light within neighborhoods, and then obviously then report back to the board. So I'm not sure if Eric's gotten calls, but I haven't had any calls, issues, concerns from neighbors. I haven't heard of them hitting, damaging any other utilities. It seems like it's gone somewhat slowly, but that's their own time frame for it. But I think it's gone well, and I think I haven't heard or had any issues with them and/or residents with concern about it. So I just wanted to kind of close that loop back with the board. Obviously, they're looking to go in other locations.
Do
They're
you
looking
have
at
any idea where or when?
they're looking at the
They've
Crown
also-
Point development.
They filed 2 more permits with me, and I've been working with them to kind of get those.
Where next?
They're both over on Tuscany Lane and Crown Point.
So Tuscany Lane is the Camden Park development. So they're working off of that
Right.
State Road.
Uh-huh.
I think they've got their fiber up and down State Road, and
That
then
you're
working
right.
south of that in
All digital
Cranberry.
infrastructure on our new house.
They're working that,
Yeah.
but obviously they work off an on-demand
Right.
system as they get the number of counts in the neighborhood and whatever their number is. Obviously then that puts it on the list for construction and permits and easements if they need to obtain easements. But it seems like they're working off that
Yeah,
State
there's
Road
several
corridor.
neighborhoods on the Nextdoor app that you can, people are posting as how many % they have.
You
and-
can go on their website and check, and it says, it'll show your quadrant and how, where you are and the percentage towards the 100%,
Right.
Well,
absorption rate.
I certainly appreciate your efforts, and Eric, your efforts with working with green light. I mean, from time to time, I'll get asked, well, why isn't green light in Penfield? I'm like, they are in Penfield.
Yeah.
They're in Penfield and they're not in other towns.
Yeah.
And certainly, Tony, I know you've met with the leadership of green light multiple times. And the town's being proactive in allowing green light to start infiltrating and offering their services. It sounds like they're in certain quadrants of the town and looking to possibly move a little bit south through the town, which is good. It takes time, but ultimately it's a business decision that they need to make. And I certainly appreciate as a town board member talking to other residents, and I'm sure other town board members have, that this town has actually been proactive in pursuing green light, meeting with them multiple times, and even having town staff, whether it's public works or whether it's the engineering staff working with green light in order to show that the town is friendly towards their services for residents. And ultimately, they've got to make the business decisions on whether they want to move into other neighborhoods or not. So I think just for the record, I appreciate the town's efforts between the supervisor and staff in promoting green light in Penfield for the services that they can provide to Penfield residents.
I think the nice and potential exciting part about it is that historically they have done a lot of work overhead, so the state road corridor has a lot of overhead. Now they're getting into the underground, so we do have a lot of subdivisions
Right.
that have all of their utilities underground. So this was a good opportunity to see how that worked, and I know Eric and Mark worked closely with them to lay that out, but they're doing some directional drilling and what have you, which is that next piece then to get from where it's strung in the air to get it into those subdivisions that underground. So that's, I think this was kind of a pilot, if you will, and went very well from our perspective, and it sounds like it went well from their perspective, because you've got a couple more opportunities coming in.
Yep, they've got a different contractor working on both Tuscany Lane and Crown Point. Working with them, some of the things that they're doing are a little, just from contractor to contractor, a little different, and trying to keep everything as uniform as possible. I know there's some concerns and difficulties working around some of the other utilities and the tolerances that they need to kind of maintain and stay away from some of the other existing utilities. So a little bit of coordination with everyone.
Yeah. Well, as Andy said, great job by you guys in the field, and Mark, kind of coordinating that and kind of moving that along.
Yep.
So,
Thank you.
okay, so that was our action. Our action item, although it was an information, was to bring it back as an FYI. So we'll drop it from the agenda for now, and we'll continue to keep the board updated as to new locations as they come in from a permitting standpoint. And that would probably be just as easy as just having it in your monthly report. As we're working on that, would be good. All right, there being no further business to come before the board this evening, the September 11, 2019 work session will stand adjourned at 7:42 p.m. Thank you to everyone that participated. Thank you to staff. Lisa, thank you for the minutes.